The market was alive with noise, heat, and shadows. It was not a place for the weak. Strange lights flickered above, broken wires sparking against the black sky. Metal stalls stretched across the ground, filled with cages, chains, and creatures from many worlds. Voices of traders rose and fell like waves, each one shouting, bargaining, laughing. But behind the laughter was cruelty. Every deal was about ownership. Every voice was about control. In the center of the marketplace, one cage was different. Inside it sat a girl. She was small, thin, her silver hair tangled like threads of moonlight. Her skin glowed faintly, as if it carried the memory of starlight. The traders did not treat her with respect. They mocked her. They called her weak. They called her useless, worthless. One alien spat. His sharp teeth flashed as he laughed. She cannot fight. She cannot work. Who would want such broken trash? Another added, give her for the price of water. Even then, it is too much. The crowd laughed together, the sound echoing like metal striking stone. The girl did not move. She sat silently, her eyes lowered, her hands tied in front of her. But her silence was not emptiness. Her silence was heavy, as if she carried a secret so deep that even she feared to speak it. From a distance, footsteps approached, a human soldier. Walked slowly between the stalls. His boots hit the ground with a dull rhythm thud, thud, thud. His name was Captain Daniel, though few here cared to know it. His uniform was dusty, his face hard, his eyes sharp with years of war. He had walked through many markets like this before, but something about this one felt different. He passed cages filled with beasts, strange weapons, and broken slaves. Traders shouted at him, trying to sell their goods. But Daniel did not stop. He had no reason to buy anything. He was only passing through. Then he saw her, his steps slowed. His eyes locked on the small cage in the center. The girl raised her head just slightly, and for a moment, their eyes met. Her eyes were not the eyes of a slave. They were not empty. They were alive, burning, but also afraid. Daniel frowned. Something stirred inside him. Strange pull. As if the universe had placed this girl here at this moment for him to see, how much? Daniel asked. His voice was calm, but the traders turned with surprise. They had not expected anyone to be interested. The alien trader laughed. This one? You must be joking, human. She is nothing, not worth your coin. A mistake of nature. Daniel did not laugh. He stepped closer, his shadow falling across the cage. How much? He repeated. The trader waved his hand carelessly. Take her, a few credits. Less than you spend on fuel for your ship. She will die soon anyway. Worth nothing. The crowd laughed again, but Daniel did not hear them. He looked. Only at the girl. She did not speak. She did not beg. She only stared back, silent and tense, as if waiting for pain. Daniel pulled out a small metal chip. He tossed it to the trader. Done. The laughter grew louder. The aliens shook their heads, muttering. Foolish human, one said. He buys garbage, but Daniel ignored them. He knelt down and unlocked the cage. The door creaked open. The girl flinched, her body shrinking away, expecting a blow. But Daniel only held out his hand. Come, he said softly. For a long moment. She did not move. Then, slowly, she placed her trembling hand in his. Her skin was cold, fragile, like thin glass. Daniel helped her stand. She was light, too light, as if she had been starved for many days. The marketplace watched with cruel amusement. Look at him, one alien sneered. Saving a useless thing. Humans always believe in lost causes. But Daniel did not answer. He led the girl away from the cage, away from the laughter. His steps were steady, but his mind was filled with questions. Why had he done this? Why had he felt the need to stop? The girl walked beside him, silent, her head still lowered. But in her silence, there was something else now. A tiny spark of hope hidden beneath layers of fear, and far above the marketplace, the broken wires sparked again. For a brief moment, the lights flickered. Not because of the wind, not because of the wires, but because the girl's hand had brushed against the cage one last time. No one noticed. Not yet, but soon, they would. Because she was not worthless. She was not broken. She was something more. Something the galaxy had forgotten, and Captain Daniel, without knowing, had just bought the beginning of a story that would change everything. The market behind them grew smaller as Captain Daniel led the girl away. The sound of alien laughter still echoed in his ears, but he did not look back. His hand was steady on her shoulder, guiding her through the crowd. She was light, almost too light, as though she carried no strength left in her bones. The girl did not speak. She walked like a shadow, silent and cautious, her bare feet careful on the dusty ground. Every time someone shouted in the distance, she flinched, expecting danger. Daniel glanced at her. She looked no older than 16. Though with alien blood, it was hard to know her true age. Her silver hair caught the faint light of the market torches, and her eyes, when she dared to lift them, held a strange glow. Soft and sorrowful. He stopped at a corner where the crowd was thinner. He knelt to meet her gaze. "What is your name?" he asked. The girl lowered her head. No sound came. Daniel sighed. "You understand me, don't you?" Her lips parted, the faintest whisper escaping. "Lyra?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Lyra, that's your name?" She gave the smallest nod, as if even that small truth might bring punishment. "All right, Lyra," Daniel said. His voice softened, though he did not know why. He was not usually gentle. War had taken away his softness long ago. Yet with her, the words came different. "You're safe now." But Lyra's eyes flickered with fear. Safe. That word was foreign to her. She had never been safe. Not in the cages, not in the hands of traitors. Not in this cruel galaxy where her life had been sold for the price of a drink. Daniel stood again. He guided her to a small station where ships rested in silence. His own vessel, a worn human freighter, waited under the pale lights. He opened the hatch and let her step inside. The moment she entered, Lyra froze. Warm air washed over her. Clean light touched her face. It was no palace, only a soldier's ship, but compared to the dark cages, it was another world. She turned. Her head looking at the simple seats, the steel walls, the hum of power beneath the floor. Her eyes lingered on everything as if she had never seen such things before. Daniel motioned to a chair. "Sit, rest." Still, she hesitated. Her body trembled, expecting the trick, the hidden cruelty. Slowly, carefully, she lowered herself onto the seat. Daniel opened a small pack and took out a ration bar. He unwrapped it and handed it to her. "Eat." Lyra stared at the food, her eyes wide. She did not move. "It's not poison," Daniel said with a faint smirk. "I promise." At last, she reached out, her thin fingers brushing against his hand as she took the bar. She bit it carefully, as though ready to spit it out. But when the taste reached her tongue, her eyes widened again. She ate quickly, almost desperately, like someone who had not known hunger could end. Daniel watched in silence. He had seen soldiers eat after long battles. He had seen starving colonies grab bread like treasure. But something about this was different. She was not only feeding her body. She was feeding her spirit, a spirit that had been nearly crushed. When she finished, she looked at him for the first time without fear. Only confusion. Why would a stranger feed her? Why would a human show kindness? Daniel leaned back, crossing his arms. "You're wondering why I bought you." Lyra froze. Her breath caught. He nodded. I don't blame you. Truth is, I don't know either. Maybe I was tired of seeing cruelty. Maybe I saw something in your eyes. Something the others didn't see. Her lips trembled. She wanted to speak, but fear closed her throat. After a long pause, she whispered, "You should not have taken me." Daniel frowned. Why? Her eyes darkened. She looked down at her hands, tied wrists, still bruised. Because they will come. They always come. Daniel studied her. The market had treated her as worthless, yet her words carried weight, as if she knew dangers far greater than slavers. Before he could question her, the ship's console beeped. A warning light flashed movement outside. Daniel's eyes narrowed. He stood quickly, moving to the controls. Through the small window, shadows shifted near the landing bay. Traitors, watching, waiting. Lyra's voice came low, trembling. They do not forgive. If they see me with you, you will be hunted. Daniel looked at her. Fear glowed in her eyes, but beneath the fear was something else, a hidden truth. A secret she carried like a wound. He spoke with steady resolve. Then, let them come. The words were simple, but heavy. Daniel had made his choice. He had taken her from the cage. A key had given her food, warmth, a name again. Now he would protect her. But even as he spoke, he felt the weight of destiny pressing in. Who was this girl really? Why was she sold so cheaply? And why did her presence feel like the beginning of something far larger than both of them? The ships. Lights flickered once, then steadied. Daniel did not notice, but Lyra did. Her hands clenched tightly. It had begun. The hum of the ship filled the silence. Outside, the marketplace grew distant as Captain Daniel's vessel lifted from the landing bay. The stars spread across the black canvas of space, endless and cold. Inside the ship, Daniel sat at the controls, his eyes sharp, watching the scanners. He knew the traitors would not forget. He had seen their looks, their whispers. Trouble would follow. Behind him, Lyra sat quietly in the corner of the cabin, her knees drawn to her chest, her silver hair falling like broken light across her face. She looked small, fragile, like she might vanish if the wind touched her. But her eyes told another story. Daniel turned his head slightly. "You can rest," he said. "No one will hurt you here." Her voice came soft, almost afraid to exist. "You do not understand." Daniel frowned. "Then help me. Understand." She shook her head. "If I tell you, you will hate me." Like the others, Daniel leaned back, crossing his arms. His voice was steady, but curious. "I don't hate easily. Try me." Lyra looked at him, her lips trembling. But before she could speak, the ship's lights flickered. Just once, just enough to draw Daniel's attention. He turned, scanning the control board. Strange, no error showing. The lights steadied. Again, silence returned. Daniel narrowed his eyes but said nothing. Lyra lowered her head. She pressed her hands against her chest as if trying to hide something beating inside. Hours passed. The ship drifted quietly through space. Daniel went to check the engine bay, leaving Lyra alone in the cabin. She stood slowly, her bare feet touching the steel floor. Her eyes moved to the locked storage door near the back. She tilted her head. Something called to her from behind that door, a hum she could feel in her bones. She stepped closer, hesitating. Only a moment before raising her hand, the door clicked. No key. No code. No tool. Just her hand. The lock opened by itself. Lyra's breath caught. She pulled her hand back quickly, fear flashing across her face. She had not wanted this. She had not wanted her gift to show. The door slid open slowly, revealing the weapons rack inside. Guns, rifles, and blades rested in neat order. Daniel's armory, but none of the weapons moved. Instead, the power in the room seemed to bend toward her, as if drawn to her presence. The ship's lights dimmed again, a soft hum rising in the walls. "Not again," she whispered, clutching her hands together. She turned quickly, closing the door, pressing her forehead against the cold metal. "Stay quiet, stay hidden, or they will find you." But it was too late. Daniel stood in the doorway, silent, watching. Lyra froze. He had seen the door open. He had seen the lights flicker. "Lyra," he said slowly, carefully, "how did you do that?" Her eyes filled with fear. She shook her head. "I didn't. I can't. Don't lie to me." His voice was not harsh, but firm. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "If you know, you will sell me too. Everyone sells me. Everyone wants the power. No one wants me." Daniel's chest tightened. For the first time, her voice was not empty, it was broken. A truth carved into her. He stepped closer. "Listen to me. I don't want to sell you. I don't care about power. I care about why you're so afraid." Lyra looked at him, searching his face for cruelty, for greed, for the hunger she had seen in so many others. But his eyes were steady, holding none of those things. She whispered, "When I was born, they said I was cursed. Machines break around me, doors open, lights follow me. Some call it magic. Some call it danger, but no one calls it good. My own people, they wanted me gone. So, they sold me." Daniel's fists clenched at his sides. Rage burned in him, not at her, but at the thought of people throwing away a child like trash because of fear. He knelt so his eyes met hers. "Lyra, what you have is not a curse, it's a gift. Don't let them tell you otherwise." She shook her head, tears shining. "A gift. Then why do they hunt me? Why does everyone hate me?" "'Cause they're afraid," Daniel said firmly. "Afraid of what they don't understand." For a moment, silence filled the ship again. Her breathing slowed. She looked at him as if his words were something she had never heard before. Something she had longed for, without hope. But then the alarm screamed. Daniel jumped to the controls. The radar showed blips surrounding them, ships fast. Closing in, Lyra's face went pale. "They came," she whispered. "I told you they would come." Daniel's jaw tightened. His hands gripped the controls. "Then we fight." The ship shuddered as enemy fire struck the hull. Daniel's fingers flew across the console, shields rising, weapons ready. But the enemy was too many, too fast. Lyra stood behind him, her hands shaking. She whispered to herself, "No, not again. I don't want to. I don't." The lights flickered wildly. Sparks flew from the console. Daniel cursed, shields failing. Then, suddenly, the humming changed. The lights steadied, brighter than before. The ship's power surged, as if invisible hands had gripped the heart of the engine and pushed it beyond its limits. Daniel turned sharply. Lyra stood with her hands outstretched, eyes glowing faint silver, her whole body trembling. The scanners spiked. Energy poured through the ship, stronger than anything Daniel had seen, and outside. The enemy ships staggered, their weapons failing, their lights flickering in confusion. Daniel's eyes widened. She was the weapon the traitors had feared. But in that moment, trembling and terrified, Lyra was not a weapon. She was a girl who had just shown her secret, and nothing would ever be the same again. The ship rocked under the weight of another blast. Red lights spun across the cabin, alarms screaming through the metal walls. Daniel's hands moved quickly across the console, trying to stabilize the shields, but the damage was heavy. Outside, the black void was no longer silent. Predator ships circled them, fast and merciless, their weapons glowing like angry stars. Slavers, they had come for her. Daniel gritted his teeth. Damn it, they didn't waste time. Behind him, Lyra clutched the edge of a seat, her small frame shaking. She whispered words not meant for him, words meant for herself. I told him they would come. They never stop. Never. Another strike hit the side of the ship, throwing sparks into the air. Daniel slammed a hand on the console. Hold together, girl, he muttered, not to Lyra, but to his ship. The only vessel that had carried him through years of battles. The scanners flashed. 3 ships closing in fast. One of them locked a tractor beam, a pale light reaching for them like a claw. Daniel cursed under his breath. They're trying to pull us in. He pulled the controls sharply, the freighter groaning in protest. The ship dove, engines screaming. But the slavers were faster. The claw of energy reached further, catching the edge of the hull. The ship jerked, metal straining. Daniel's hands moved faster, fighting for every inch of freedom. But the pull grew stronger. Lyra's breathing quickened. She pressed her hands against her chest. She could feel the energy clawing not just at the ship, but at her. As if the beam wasn't pulling steel, but her very blood. Her eyes widened. They don't want you. They want me. Daniel didn't look back. Doesn't matter. They're not getting you. But you can't fight them all. Her voice broke, the words torn by fear. Everywhere I go, they follow. No one can stop them. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then they've never met me. The tractor beam tightened its grip. The ship shuddered, alarms howling louder. Daniel slammed the emergency release, flooding the engines with power they were never meant to handle. The freighter roared forward, tearing free for a moment. But the slavers were relentless. One of the ships fired, striking their wing. Metal screamed. The ship spun, thrown off course. Lyra fell against the wall, her hands scraping across the steel. A spark leaped at her touch, light flickering violently through the cabin. Daniel glanced back, his eyes narrowing. Lyra. Her eyes glowed faint. Silver, her breath trembling. She didn't mean to, but her fear was reaching through the ship, through the circuits, through the heart of the machine itself. And the ship answered. The engines flared brighter than they ever had before. Power surging, far beyond design. The freighter lunged forward, breaking the pull of the tractor beam, tearing space open in its path. The slavers scattered for a moment, confused. Their scanners blinked with errors. Their weapons faltered. Daniel's eyes widened. He had seen. Engines pushed, but never like this. He looked at her, small, fragile, trembling in fear, and he realized. It was her, but Lyra's body shook violently, her face pale. She fell to her knees, gasping, as if the ship's energy had drained from her veins. Daniel caught her before she collapsed fully. Her skin was cold, her pulse weak. "Stay with me," he said firmly. Her lips moved, a whisper escaping. "I can't control it. When I'm afraid, it happens. That's why they want me. That's why they'll never stop." Daniel clenched his jaw. He looked through the window at the slaver ships regrouping, circling again. They would not retreat. They had seen her power. Now they would hunt with greater fury. "Then we give them a reason to fear you back," Daniel muttered. He pulled her gently into the co-pilot seat. She shook her head, tears slipping down. "No. If I use it again, I'll break everything. Even you." Daniel placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Listen to me. I don't care what they call you. I don't care what power you have. You are not a weapon. You're Lyra, and right now, I need Lyra to be brave. Her eyes lifted to his, wide and trembling. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. Not as a tool, not as a curse, but as a person. The ship jolted again as the slavers fired. Daniel gripped the controls, pulling them into a sharp dive between enemy fire. The battlefield was behind them. Wreckage of slaver ships floated in silence, broken teeth scattered across the stars. Daniel's freighter drifted through the void, its engines humming faintly, patched together after the fight. Inside, the alarms had gone quiet. For the first time in hours, there was peace. Daniel sat in the pilot's chair, his eyes still sharp, scanning for more enemies. His hands were steady on the console, but his thoughts were heavy. He had fought wars, seen death, lost comrades, but nothing had shaken him quite like this girl with silver hair and frightened eyes. Lyra sat across from him, curled into the co-pilot's seat. She looked pale, exhausted, her small hands folded tightly together. Her power had saved them, but it had drained her as well. Daniel broke the silence. You should rest. Her voice was soft, tired. Rest is dangerous. When I sleep, the dreams come. Daniel turned his head slightly. Dreams? She nodded, her eyes staring into the stars outside. I see things before they happen. I don't know if they are real. Or warnings. She paused, her voice shaking. Sometimes I see fire. Sometimes I see you, and sometimes I see nothing. Daniel leaned back, studying her. She was more than she seemed, more than even she understood. He didn't push her with questions. Instead, he reached into his pack and pulled out another ration bar. He tossed it gently onto her lap. Eat first. Worry about dreams later. Lyra blinked at the simple act. No chains, no orders. Just food, freely given. She unwrapped it slowly, her hands trembling less than before. She ate quietly, but this time not like a starving prisoner. This time she took small bites, pausing to taste, to experience. A fragile calm spread across her face. Daniel watched with a faint smile. Better. For the first time, her lips curved slightly uncertain, shy, but almost a smile. It was small, but it lit her features like dawn breaking through clouds. Later, Daniel moved to repair a damaged panel in the engine bay. Sparks jumped as he tightened a loose wire. He muttered under his breath, annoyed at the endless damage. From behind, a soft voice asked, "Can I help?" He turned. Lyra stood in the doorway, her silver hair brushing her shoulders. Eyes carried hesitation, but also something new, courage. Daniel wiped his hands on his sleeve. You don't need to. She stepped closer anyway. I want to. Daniel studied her for a moment, then handed her a small tool. Hold this steady. Her hands shook as she took it, but she gripped firmly, focusing hard. For several minutes, they worked together in silence. Daniel guided her, patient, calm. When the panel sealed shut and the hum of the engine steadied, Daniel gave a nod. Good work. Lyra looked at her hands, surprised. I didn't break it. Daniel chuckled. Softly. Not everything you touch will break, Lyra. Her eyes lifted to his, wide and searching. No one had ever told her that before. Time passed slowly in the void. The galaxy outside was vast, dangerous, but inside the freighter, something fragile was growing. At night, Daniel sat by the control panel, keeping watch. Lyra often sat nearby, listening as he told stories of human worlds, green fields, blue oceans, cities filled with light. She listened quietly, as if trying to imagine a life she had never seen. Your world, she whispered once. It sounds alive. Daniel nodded. It is, and maybe one day you'll see it yourself. Her eyes softened. No one has ever spoken to me like this, as if I might have a future. Daniel's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed gentle. You do? Don't ever believe otherwise. But peace could not last forever. Far away, unseen by them, slaver signals still hunted, regrouping, whispering of the silver-haired girl who could control machines. They were patient. They were watching. Inside the freighter, Daniel and Lyra shared simple moments fixing the ship, sharing food, quiet laughter that neither expected. For Daniel, it was a reminder of humanity he thought he had lost. For Lyra, it was the first taste of trust, of belonging. Yet the shadow never left. Lyra often woke in the middle of the night, gasping from visions. But she would sit in silence, clutching her knees, afraid to close her eyes again. One night, Daniel found her. Like this, he sat beside her, not speaking, just sitting. After a while, she whispered, I dreamed of fire again, and I dreamed of you. You were bleeding. Daniel didn't flinch. Dreams aren't destiny. They're warnings. And I don't plan on dying anytime soon. Lyra looked at him, tears in her eyes. Promise? Daniel gave her a small, steady nod. Promise. For the first time, she believed it. The bond between them had grown not from power, not from fear, but from simple acts of trust. But in the dark reaches of space, enemies moved. Lyra's gift was no longer hidden. Her power was known, and soon the galaxy would come for them both. The freighter drifted silently into orbit around a barren moon. The stars shimmered faintly, but inside the ship, the weight of quiet felt heavier than space itself. Daniel sat at the console, sending coded signals back to human command. Supplies were low, repairs were many, and the slavers would not give up the hunt. He needed help. He needed a safe place. But safety came with a price. Behind him, Lyra sat cross-legged on the floor, her silver hair glowing faintly in the cabin light. She was humming softly, a sound almost like a child's lullaby. It was the first sound of peace he had ever heard from her. Daniel turned slightly. For a moment, he let himself believe this could last. That maybe, just maybe, he could keep her, hidden from the galaxy. Then the console beeped, a sharp sound that broke the fragile moment. Daniel frowned. A message. Encrypted, high-level clearance. He opened it. The screen lit with the emblem of the human fleet. And then, the face of his commander appeared, General Marcus. Stern, cold, a man carved from stone. Captain Daniel. The voice crackled. We have received your signal. Your location is noted. You will hold position until retrieval. Daniel straightened in his chair. Acknowledged, sir, but there's more you should know. I've recovered. Someone. General Marcus raised a brow. Someone? Daniel hesitated. His eyes flickered toward Lyra, who now watched him silently. Her humming stopped. She's not human, Daniel admitted, but she has abilities. She saved us in combat. Marcus leaned forward, his eyes sharp. Abilities. Daniel nodded slowly. She can control machines, bend them, enhance them. She turned enemy ships into dead metal with a thought. The silence that followed was heavy. Then Marcus spoke, his voice cutting. You will deliver her to us. Daniel's chest tightened. Sir, she's not a weapon. She's a child. Marcus slammed a hand on his desk, his voice harsh. That is not your decision, Captain. You are a soldier. Your duty is to humanity. Bring her to us immediately. Do you understand? Daniel's fists clenched. He lowered his head. Yes, sir. The transmission ended. The screen went black. Lyra's voice broke the silence. It was soft, but trembling. He wants me, doesn't he? Daniel turned slowly. Her eyes glistened with tears, her small hands shaking. They always want me. No one ever wants me. Only what I can do. Daniel's breath caught. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to tell her it wasn't true. But the order still rang in his ears. Deliver her. Lyra stood, stepping back from him. You called them? You told them where we are. Daniel rose quickly. Lyra, listen to me. I didn't mean to betray you, I thought. I thought they might help us, protect us. Her voice broke into anger, rare and sharp. Protect me, by chaining me, by turning me into their weapon. That's not protection. That's another cage. Her words cut deeper than any blade. Daniel took a step toward her, but she raised her hand. The lights flickered violently, the air humming with energy. Don't, she whispered. Her eyes glowed silver, but her face was streaked with tears. Don't come closer. I thought you were different. Daniel froze. His heart pounded. I am different. I won't give you to them. Not now, not ever. But the doubt in her eyes was heavy. Too many times she had heard promises. Too many times they had been broken. And then the sensors screamed. Daniel. Turned to the console. Human fleet ships had arrived. Sleek, strong, surrounding them like a wall of steel. A message came through again. This time without courtesy. Captain Daniel, surrender the alien immediately. Failure to comply will be considered treason. The words struck like thunder. Daniel stood frozen. His oath to humanity pulled one way. His promise to Lyra pulled the other. Lyra's voice shook. As she whispered, I should run. If I stay, they'll destroy you too. Daniel turned sharply, his voice fierce. No, you're not running. Not again. I won't let them take you. The cum crackled again. Captain, respond. Hand her over now. Daniel's hand hovered over the cum switch. His chest burned with the weight of choice. Obey and betray. Her refuse and become a traitor. Lyra's silver eyes locked with his, wet with tears, desperate for truth. What will you choose? For a long moment, the world held its breath. Then Daniel lowered his hand. His voice was steady, steel in every word. I choose her. The cum exploded with angry orders. Fleet ships powered their weapons. Alarms filled the cabin once again. Daniel reached for the controls, his jaw set. Hold on, Lyra, if they want a fight, then they'll get one. Lyra's hands trembled, but in her chest, something shifted. For the first time, someone had chosen her. Not her power, not her curse. Her but outside, the fleet tightened their net. This was not a battle. They could win easily, and in the shadows of space, the greatest betrayal was clear. Humanity itself was now against them. The stars burned cold around the freighter, but closer, human warships glowed like hungry beasts. Their weapons aimed, their orders clear. Surrender the girl or die. Inside the cabin, alarms blared. Daniel's hands gripped the controls, his face set in stone. He had faced enemies before, but never his own people. Never the flag he had once sworn to protect. Behind him, Lyra stood trembling, her silver glow faint in the red light of the alarms. Her voice was soft, broken. Daniel, they will kill you for this. Daniel didn't look back. Then they'll have to try. The cum crackled again. The cold voice of General Marcus filled the cabin. Captain Daniel, last warning. Surrender the alien. Do not throw your life away for a mistake of nature. Daniel's jaw tightened. He pressed the cum button, his voice sharp. She is not a mistake. She is not a weapon. She is Lyra, and you will not have her. The reply was silence. Then a Nami fire lit the void. The freighter shook violently. Shields dropped by half in seconds. Sparks rained across the cabin. Daniel forced the ship into a dive, weaving between the blasts. But his vessel was small, fragile, no match for the fleet's firepower. Lyra gripped the chair, fear in her eyes. Yet beneath the fear was something else, anger. For so long she had been silent, hidden, believing herself worthless. But here was one man, willing to fight the entire galaxy just to keep her safe. Her heart burned. She could not let him stand. "Alone, Daniel?" she whispered. "Let me help." He glanced back at her, shaking his head. "No. Using your power drains you. Atikio." Her silver eyes locked on his. "Then let me choose, like you chose me." The words struck deep. Daniel saw the fire in her gaze, the courage rising through her fear. Slowly, he gave a single nod. Together, then, Lyra closed her eyes. The cabin hummed. The ship's lights flickered, but not wild and broken this time. The glow spread in steady rhythm, as if guided by her will. Outside, the freighter's engines roared with new life. Energy surged, brighter than anything human tech could create. The ship moved faster, sharper, slipping through enemy fire like a shadow. The fleet tightened formation, but their systems began to falter. Screens flickered, weapons stalled. Engines coughed like dying beasts. On the flagship, Marcus watched with fury. Impossible. But it was happening in the freighter. Daniel's eyes widened. "You're controlling them." Lyra's voice came low, steady, not controlling. "Healing. Their machines are sick. I make them see what they truly are." Their words confused him, but he understood one truth. Her power was not destruction. It was creation. Life flowing into cold metal, bending it not through fear, but through balance. Enemy ships faltered, drifting helplessly, but the flagship still aimed. A massive cannon charged, humming with deadly light. Marcus's voice thundered over the comm. "If I must burn both of you to ash, so be it." The cannon fired. Daniel pulled the freighter hard to the side, but the blast clipped them. The ship screamed. Alarms exploded. Daniel was thrown from his seat, blood streaking down his forehead. Lyra gasped, rushing to him. "Daniel." He coughed. Struggling to rise. "Stay." Focused. Tears blurred her vision. She pressed her small hands against his wound, her glow intensifying. The bleeding slowed. The pain eased. Daniel stared at her in shock. You can heal too." Her whisper trembled. "I don't just touch machines, I touch life." The glow spread from her hands into him. His breath steadied. His strength returned. She was more than a weapon. She was hope itself. Outside, her power surged outward, wrapping the freighter in a radiant field of silver light. The flagship's cannon flickered, its energy dissolving into nothing. The mighty warship shook, powerless before her gift. Marcus's voice screamed across the comm. "No, she belongs to us." But his voice broke into static. Systems failed. The flagship drifted, lights dying one by one. Silence filled the stars. The battle was over. Inside the cabin, Lyra collapsed into Daniel's arms, drained but alive. Her silver glow dimmed, leaving only the soft shine of her hair. Daniel held her tightly, his voice rough but steady. "You saved me. You saved us both." Her eyes fluttered open, tears slipping down. "You didn't see a weapon. You saw me." "No one ever saw me before." Daniel brushed a hand across her tangled hair. "They were blind. But I see you, Lyra, and I will never let them take you." For the first time in her life, she believed those words. Far beyond, the broken fleet drifted. Whispers already spreading. An alien girl with silver hair. A human who defied his own kind. A bond that turned weakness into strength. They had been hunted. They had been betrayed. But in the end, they had proven one truth. She was not worthless. She was priceless, and together they would change the fate of the galaxy.